Here's your podcast script. The Uffizi Galleries in Florence is getting a reset and its director is losing sleep over it, literally. Simone Verde, the man running one of the world's most visited museums, showed up late to a recent interview because he'd been at the Uffizi until 3:30 in the morning. He was overseeing workers as they rehung Botticelli's Primavera, one of the most iconic paintings on the planet, and had only grabbed a few hours of sleep before heading back to supervise the finishing touches on the newly revamped Botticelli rooms. That's the kind of dedication that gives you a sense of what Verde is working toward. Just over 2 years into a 4-year mandate, he's trying to remake the Uffizi and its sister sites, the Palazzo Pitti and the Boboli Gardens, into what he calls living encyclopedias of museum history. The goal isn't just to display great art. It's to help visitors understand how and why these collections came together over the centuries. The Botticelli rooms are the clearest example of that vision in action. When they were last reorganized about a decade ago, the approach was decidedly contemporary: oversized niches, stark white walls. Verde has pulled back from that. The walls are now painted in what he calls Renaissance gray. A darker baseboard echoes the wood paneling that filled the gallery until the 1950s. Brass barriers reprise designs from a modernist installation earlier in the 20th century. It's a layered look that's deliberately historical, and the two masterworks at the center of it all, the Primavera and the Birth of Venus, now sit in new custom-built cases that can swing open for closer inspection. And while Verde is clearly steeped in the past, he's not ignoring the present. Museum labels in the Botticelli rooms now include QR codes, a first for the Uffizi, and digital monitors explain Botticelli's deep ties to the Medici family that once ruled Florence. Speaking of the Medicis, Verde is pushing to give the Palazzo Pitti the recognition he thinks it deserves. Most visitors to Florence treat it as the Uffizi's less glamorous neighbor across the Arno River. But Verde argues that historically, they're the same collection, part of the same story. For 3 centuries, the Pitti was home to 3 successive dynasties: the Medici, the Habsburg-Lorraine rulers, and the House of Savoy. He's been pouring resources into the site, renovating its royal apartments and restoring key rooms in the Galleria Palatina, a ceremonial gallery the Habsburg-Lorraine rulers opened to the public after selecting some 500 works from the Medici collections to hang there. A major milestone came in December 2024, when the renovation of the Vasari corridor was completed. That's the famous elevated walkway connecting the Pitti and the Uffizi, and now it does double duty as a redistributor of crowds and a gallery in its own right, lined with dozens of ancient Roman busts that once sat in storage. Verde says there are only 7 left to place. Managing those crowds is its own challenge. The Uffizi drew 5.3 million visitors last year, making it Italy's second most visited attraction after the Colosseum. Last year, someone backed into a painting while taking a selfie. Selfies are technically banned, though Verde admits guards usually look the other way. They're stricter about selfie sticks. The Boboli Gardens, stretching behind the Palazzo Pitti, are also in the middle of a transformation. Verde calls managing a historical garden the same as managing a collection, a living museum. Hundreds of trees and thousands of other plants have been replanted. A 16th-century amphitheater and a small island at the center of a man-made lake are being restored. There are around 25 active worksites across all 3 properties, and Mondays, when the museums are closed, turn into a full-on construction zone of drills, hammers, and saws. Verde came to the Uffizi with serious credentials: nearly 5 years at the Louvre Abu Dhabi, and 7 years revamping a cluster of museums in Parma. He has resources to work with too. The Uffizi brought in €68 million in ticket sales last year, roughly $78 million, and can draw on loan fees and donations on top of that. A new restaurant is under construction on the ground floor, and the main entrance and ticket office are being relocated to make room for a new section dedicated entirely to the museum's own history. But Verde's ultimate ambition is something quieter than all of that. He wants visitors to walk in and feel like the Uffizi has always been exactly this way, as if his fingerprints were never there at all. That's the story of one museum director, a lot of sleepless nights, and a vision to let centuries of history speak for itself. 750 words / approximately 4.5 minutes at a moderate speaking pace.